When you're faced with an overwhelming task, it can be daunting. People that have to clean up after a hurricane or a tornado, you have to ask the question, how do you clean up after such a mess? Where do you begin rebuilding from the rubble? Where do you start? That is the task before Nehemiah here in chapter 3. Welcome to the Word for 2022. At the end of chapter 2, Nehemiah is now on the scene. He's already gone and inspected the walls and the gates of Jerusalem. Everything is in ruins and broken down. He motivates the people by saying that we are in this together, and then he shares with them how God has already given them favor. But just as they started to rebuild, the enemy tried to discourage and intimidate them. How did Nehemiah deal with this? The answer to rebuilding in the midst of a mess and opposition was for the people to make it personal. Nehemiah told the people to start rebuilding the wall right in front of their own homes. That way, they would feel safer, they would see success taking place, and that they would have a sense of accomplishment. But as we continue to read in this chapter, unfortunately, not everyone in the group took part. Not everyone participated. We read in verse 5, one section was repaired by the men of Tekoa, but their nobles would not put their shoulders to the work under their supervisors. This is one reason why many people don't like to be a part of group projects in school. Inevitably, somebody that you're assigned with won't do their share of the work, and you're left with doing most everything. It's that 80-20 rule, where 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. But despite opposition and disappointments caused by others, Nehemiah, he continued to motivate the people with that word together. We see that throughout this chapter. Over and over again, how did the people become successful? How did they deal with the mess, opposition, and the daunting task before them? They did it together. We really do need each other. God has designed us to work together, to help one another. We are a body. The church is considered the body of Christ. We are to work together in order to fulfill God's purposes and make it through very difficult times. It could be put no better than the way Solomon did in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 10. Solomon said, "Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him up, but pity the man who falls and he has no one to help him up. Also, if two lie down together, they can keep warm, but how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken." Nehemiah knew that if they worked together, they could complete the task. That overwhelming situation before them, it could be manageable as they all work together. The same is true. We need one another because together we work better. Thank you for joining the Word for 2022.